Tonight's punctured peace plans.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.
Donald Trump's touted ceasefire between Iran and Israel violated and tenuous, as the U.S. president says it's holding for now. Plus, dominating heat.
I've been doing this for a long time and nothing changes. Heat comes on, phones are ringing.
How HVAC technicians are being kept hopping in Windsor, Essex to manage the demand for AC. And marina mayhem.
Unfortunately, it's something I think is needed.
How Leamington plans to respond to curb waterfront complaints.
CTV News with Stephanie Mazzotti.
It feels like an armpit out here.
Scorching sun and stifling air. A heat warning remains in place in the region as this relentless humidity tightens its grip for another day. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Stephanie is off. I'm Ricardo, Veneza. We'll have more on those sweltering conditions in just a moment. But first, we begin with an update from Chatham tonight, where the body of a missing teenager has been recovered from the Thames River. Emergency crews were called to the 3rd Street Bridge Monday after two teenage girls, a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old, reportedly jumped from the bridge into the water. Only one resurfaced. That launched a coordinated search effort with help from the Ontario Provincial Police dive team, aerial drones, and local fire crews. By the end of the day, police say the body of the 17-year-old had been recovered. Police say the incident is not considered suspicious. Well, record-setting temperatures and suffocating humidity are dominating conversations across the region today. For heating and cooling companies, they're in hot demand and dealing with a flood of service calls. Bob Belachico joins us now with more on that side of this hot weather story. Bob?
Well, Ricardo, big units, small units, it doesn't matter. They're all getting their workout in this heat wave for sure. Now, I caught up with our friends from Fairhall who said they almost tripled their call volume yesterday alone. Residents maxing out their units, the older ones not being able to keep up.
So you have no cooling?
A familiar line Monday as the current heat wave gripped the region. People reaching out to heating and cooling companies across the city. Fairhall mechanical operators fielded 70-plus calls. A regular day sees 20-plus.
Some people are even telling us that the unit was smoking, something's happening, we need some help right away.
I've been doing this for a long time and nothing changes. Heat comes on, phones are ringing.
I can get you service for tomorrow morning.
Home comfort technologist Dennis Pelche checked in on the owner of this house on the East End, who heard her unit making noise Monday before calling to have the 31-year-old machine replaced.
Our service guy came out last night, took a look at it, found that it was leaking.
Pelche says many of their calls are for low freon, which may have been caused from units working too hard.
I could have got overpressured with this heat. The pressures go up, and the pressures inside, it can spring a leak anywhere. Rust, age, a combination.
We get a little bit of mold and dirt, a lot of oxidization going on here. This is normally from hairsprays and what have you, detergents.
The machine was swapped out this morning. To avoid overtaxing your machine, close your blinds to keep the sun out, minimize oven use, and keep humidity in check by not taking too many showers. Pelche says the aim on a day like today should be 74 to 78 degrees in the house.
That's what this is, a dehumidifier. So once you get that humidity out of there, 78 feels comfortable. It's getting that humidity down. That's what it's all about.
If you are sticky, then the unit may be low on freon or the filter may need changing.
Wash your condenser out, do those little maintenance stuff, and in the long run it'll help you out.
Just don't have your unit looking like these, or you could be making a phone call to a heating and cooling agent sooner than expected.
Never power wash your air conditioner, just a hose, or I recommend just a light broom. You can just take the broom and sweep it, then wash it, you're better off.
Well, I don't know about you, but today's assignment was definitely an eye-opener for me, so I'll be checking my unit for sure tonight. So, maintenance, make sure it's clean, broom it down, water it down, but definitely no power washing. Check. Good advice right there. Hey, Ricardo? Back over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to just clean that filter out regularly. Bob, thank you for that. That's CTV's Bob Belachico tonight. And that brings us to our question of the day, one that always comes up about this time of year. Would you rather put up with the extreme heat of summer or the extreme cold of winter? You can go vote over on our website. That's CTV News Windsor. Now, yesterday we asked if you were going to go watch the Ford fireworks. Of close to 700 votes, 84% say no. Well, CTV meteorologist Gary Archibald joining us now for our first check of the forecast. Gary, a hot one today, and we even had a bit of rain, maybe some thunderstorm activity move through the region.
That's right. Good evening. We are still in the midst of this unstable air mass. Huge plumes, these clouds, cumulus really forming, and we're looking for that upward development, vertical velocities. As clouds form and rapidly rise vertically, that's an indication of an unstable air mass, which we are in. It is hot, it is humid, and of course, we've seen some cells rumbling through. Yes, thunderstorm watches and warnings. We're in and out of them over the next few hours, and the heat warning continues, at least officially, from Environment Canada until midnight, could be extended, and we'll wait for the official word. 35 degrees today, felt like 46. That's what, 113 degrees Fahrenheit, the equivalent? It's sweltering. We need some relief. We'll see if it's coming. I have the answer to all of that and more coming up.
Well, the sky lit up last night, and so did the crowds. Hot and humid conditions did not keep people from packing the waterfront along Windsor and Detroit for the 67th edition of the Ford Fireworks. We've got a full wrap still ahead of the major event last night. But first, emergency crews were kept busy. EMS reporting that they responded to 18 calls in the viewing area, including those tied to the heat. Windsor police say one man nearly turned celebration into chaos, driving through traffic control points, onto sidewalks, and even within feet of bystanders. A black Dodge Caravan was eventually stopped outside police headquarters downtown. Police say the 33-year-old driver screamed incoherently and resisted arrest, but was eventually taken into custody. He's now charged with dangerous driving. And across the river, Detroit police say gunfire rang out just before the fireworks began. A 17-year-old boy and 22-year-old woman were shot. Both are expected to recover from their injuries. Investigators say they have strong video evidence and are working to track down the suspects.
The video showed gun in hand, muzzle flash, and then he had a individual that was with him as well, and they're still out. But we do expect to have them apprehended shortly, and so I definitely would encourage them to turn themselves in. As I said, I have good video, and we will ensure that you get that so that everybody will know exactly who they are.
A Chatham Kent OPP officer has been found not guilty of manslaughter.
As his honor said, there's still someone that's dead, and so it's still not really a day of joy, but relief for one person.
Sandeep Kara's client was charged with manslaughter for the July 2021 death of 24-year-old Nicholas Greaves. Over the course of the trial this past spring, court learned Greaves stole $40 in gas from the Dutton en route. When Constable Sean O'Rourke tried to pull over his vehicle, the judge found that Greaves intentionally hit O'Rourke's cruiser in an attempt to try to get away. Greaves' car spun out into the center median, and he still tried to get away and didn't obey commands to put his hands up. The judge ruled it was reasonable for the officer to draw his firearm. The judge also agreed with O'Rourke's evidence that he tripped and fell into the front seat of the car, and in his effort to get back out, his finger accidentally slid down to the trigger and the gun fired. The judge further dismissed the evidence of the two other passengers in Greaves' car because they were both using illegal drugs in the hours before the shooting. The entire incident, from when Constable O'Rourke got the report about the theft of gas to when Greaves was shot, was 21 minutes.
I was very impressed with this judge. He clearly got all the issues, and the way he started his decision and ended his decision, I think, nailed it. We are here playing Monday morning quarterback on something that was seconds long and tragic.
Fire investigators remain on scene after a serious house fire in a multi-unit building in Chatham last night. Crews were called to a home on Grand Avenue East. It was a two-story house converted into 4 units. Heavy flames were coming from a lower rear unit when firefighters arrived. Crews were able to quickly bring that fire under control, but not before heat melted vinyl siding on the neighboring house. Investigators say damage is estimated at about $200,000. Now, the Ontario Fire Marshal has been called to send an investigator to sort out the cause of that fire. Windsor police shut down a stretch of Olette Avenue early this afternoon after a pedestrian was hit by a vehicle. It happened around 2 o'clock when police say a female pedestrian was hit. The driver remained at the scene and the pedestrian was taken to hospital. She is expected to recover from her injuries. Lanes between Elliott Street and Erie Street were closed for about an hour for that investigation and cleanup, but they have since reopened. And in LaSalle, stunt driving charges have been laid after police say a Windsor man was going nearly double the speed limit. You can head to our website, that's ctvnewswindsor.ca, for all the details. Well, a quick update now for viewers concerning the soon-to-be vacant Ward 2 seat on Windsor City Council. A decision will be made next month about what to do following Fabio Costante's resignation to take the top job over at the Windsor-Essex CHC. Council will weigh 2 administration reports coming July 14th, outlining the options, which include appointing someone or calling a by-election to replace Costante. Well, in the East End now, a well-used soccer field over at McHugh Park is getting a major upgrade. The province is kicking in $1 million to install FIFA-quality artificial turf over at McHugh Park, creating Windsor's first city-owned turf soccer field. The upgrade is expected to extend the playing season, support future tournament hosting, and give local athletes more opportunities to train and to compete. Well, the municipality of Leamington is stepping up efforts to improve safety and curb disruptive behavior over at its waterfront and marina areas. A major investment in security cameras is part of that plan. Our Chris Campbell joins us now with the details on that. Chris, what's going on here?
Yes, Ricardo, Leamington's waterfront is a popular destination, but residents and officials say it's also the site of ongoing concerns, including street racing, engine revving, and loitering. Now, the municipality is taking high-tech steps to respond. In a report going to Leamington Council, staff are recommending a $115,000 investment in new AI-powered surveillance cameras. If approved, the contract would be awarded to Empire Communications of Oldcastle, with the system installed at several key locations, including the Marina, Amphitheatre, Mercia Park, the Pride Crosswalk, and the OPP station.
Well, unfortunately, it's something I think is needed.
I think that's the best thing to do because the crime is so heavy now, and you're not safe, you know.
The cameras won't just record, they'll also use artificial intelligence to help police and staff quickly search video footage for specific people, vehicles, or behaviors.
You know, I'm 68 years old, and go walking at night, I don't feel safe. I don't.
This is just one part of a broader safety strategy for the waterfront area.
But it's money well spent, and it's good to see they're taking those measures to make everything better for everybody around here.
In a media release, the municipality says it's implementing new signage, increased police patrols, and parking restrictions from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., along with enforcement under the Trespass to Property Act.
We've had issues down at the waterfront with speeding, with people, you know, squealing their tires and things that were disruptive and sometimes not safe to the residents that live down there.
Mayor Hilda McDonald says it's about quality of life for residents near the waterfront.
It needs to be safe, and we're doing our due diligence by trying to take care of the folks that want to enjoy life down at the waterfront. And if that means cameras and other security measures, it has to be done.
Loitering, destruction, some damaging of property, and this just adds another level of, you know, keeping our communities clean and safe for everyone.
Council already allocated partial funding in its 2025 capital budget, but the scope of the project has since expanded to include more sites. The remaining cost is expected to come from the IT Reserve Fund.
We want to keep our communities safe and enjoyable.
And I think if people know they're there, they will think twice.
If approved, the system could be up and running later this year, hopefully just in time for the height of the summer season here down by the waterfront. Now, Council meets this evening. We will be following this story to bring you the latest details. Ricardo?
Okay, Chris, yeah, certainly people can get carried away down by the marina. We'll see if this works out. That's CTV's Chris Campbell tonight. Well, Riverside Secondary School today celebrating a new event they hope to see become an annual tradition. Students enrolled in the STEP program in local public schools in the Windsor-Essex area were invited to the first prom celebrated at the school. It's an initiative that, like all high school proms, Involves dressing to the nines and dancing like no one's watching. Students and their support professionals did just that, owning the dance floor and, of course, taking pictures, memories recorded that won't soon be forgotten.
It's very significant for us because every student going from grade 9 to grade 12 gets to experience a prom at some point in their lives. And for our students, they never get that opportunity usually because it's an after-school event and they need support to attend it.
The question is, does that diplomacy really get traction?
Still ahead on Windsor's news leader, a ceasefire struck, and now the PM is speaking out. Mark Carney's message on what comes next. And lake days just got cleaner. The high-tech solution to plastic pollution. That's still ahead. And tomorrow, a new era of cross-border travel is almost here. What's left to finish for the Gordie Howe Bridge? That's tomorrow on CTV News at 6. Start your day with the latest local news. By signing up for our newsletter, you'll get direct local content straight from CTV Windsor to your inbox, including top stories, the forecast, and videos. You can sign up at ctvnewswindsor.ca. Donald Trump says the Israel-Iran ceasefire he arranged is back on after a shaky start. The truce seems to be holding for now after a furious Trump lashed out at both countries using some colorful language to make his points. With more from Washington, here's CTV's Joy Melvin.
After brokering a fragile ceasefire, the U.S. president visibly angry and let the F word fly.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Sending a message to warring nations, Israel and Iran, to knock it off.
I think they both violated it. I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it.
After agreeing to Donald Trump's ceasefire overnight, the Israeli army struck hard at Iranian government targets, including a radar site north of Tehran. And Israel says it struck back too, after Iranian missiles had been fired in the south, killing 4 Israelis. The president trying to hold this truce together, telling reporters he was firm, demanding Israel's prime minister bring back its planes and stop the bombing.
Tired of it. I think they don't want it to happen again. And Iran's not going to have a nuclear weapon, by the way. I think it's the last thing on their mind right now.
After the U.S. bombed 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities deep underground and days of Israeli strikes on nuclear targets, Iran has been weakened. But how far has Tehran nuclear ambitions been set back?
Is there any highly enriched uranium left? And are there any of these centrifuges left as well? That's a big question.
And an early U.S. intelligence report suggests that America's bunker-busting bombs may not have destroyed Iran's nuclear sites. This is at odds with the president, who insists they were completely obliterated. Joy Melvin, CTV News, Washington.
And here's Prime Minister Mark Carney arriving at the NATO summit in The Hague today. Before that, he made a U.S. media appearance. He called Iran's latest strikes a sign of de-escalation.
It's an opening for diplomacy. I think that's the right way to put it. And the question is, does that diplomacy really get traction and move to ending this risk of nuclear proliferation? And does it lead as well to broader, a broader ceasefire in the Middle East, including in Gaza?
Now, the Prime Minister is meeting with other world leaders at the NATO summit, focusing on defense, security, and the Middle East. CTV's Jeremy Sharon is in the Netherlands covering the summit.
An historic NATO summit now underway in the Netherlands. Prime Minister Mark Carney joining all 32 alliance members in The Hague.
Thank you personally for your
meeting with many today for bilateral meetings.
Handshake? Okay, very good.
The summit set to focus on a new defense investment plan aimed at increasing NATO's collective readiness.
And it's important to be clear what we are potentially, and I think likely to all agree tomorrow, which is, and let's take the 5% of GDP figure, which is a big, big number.
That figure would become the new baseline defense spending target. 3.5% would be core defense spending and another 1.5% on defense-related infrastructure investments. The increase would cost Canada tens of billions more a year.
How much is it actually for you?
5% of our GDP would be about $150 billion.
I mean, that's a lot.
It's a lot of numbers.
Per year?
Per year.
But a timeline to get to it is the next big question. And Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister says it will be an important part of the conversation.
And one of the dates that is being proposed is 2029. And we like to see steps along the way where there can be a re-examination of whether this is the right approach.
But Canada arrives at the summit having only just committed to meet the current 2% target this fiscal year. And some suggest Carney's government has work to do to re-establish Canada's reputation on the issue.
Canada's credibility collectively and the Canadian reputation that Mr. Carney inherited when he became Prime Minister is far from great on this issue.
An official decision on increasing the alliance's defense spending commitment will come tomorrow, when all 32 member nations sit down for the summit's main meeting, where support for Ukraine is on the agenda too. Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News, The Hague.
Now to a massive drug bust at the Blue Water Bridge that saw officers seize more than $23 million worth of cocaine. The Canada Border Services Agency says 187 kilograms of suspected cocaine were hidden inside a commercial truck entering Canada from the U.S. at the Sarnia crossing. A 43-year-old Brampton man was charged with importing cocaine and possession for the purpose of trafficking. Well, the province has taken another step on the path to end the long wait to access primary care. In April, the Ministry of Health put out a call for pitches to create or expand primary health teams. The aim is to connect 300,000 more people to primary care by the end of the year. Now, the government has announced 130 teams will get a portion of $235 million to help more patients in communities with the greatest need.
This investment is part of our government's $2.1 billion primary care action plan to connect everyone in Ontario to a publicly funded family care doctor or primary care team.
We know that many have waited a long time for this, and while it won't happen overnight, teams will begin accepting patients in the coming weeks and months.
Well, the goal is to have every Ontarian linked to primary care by 2029. Now, the Ford government has released what it says are the finalized renderings for the controversial Ontario Place redevelopment.
And it will welcome visitors from across the province and around the world, coming to see some of the great new attractions that will be on offer. It will be a destination for all of Ontario, while something for everyone.
The renderings show the private spa being built by Austrian company Therma, which will occupy most of the West Island. The development of the spa has sparked controversy ever since it was announced. Also shown was a Live Nation performance venue, which will take up the central island with a marina built behind it. The Ford government says the project will result in 5,000 new jobs, more than 50 acres of free public space, and a new revenue-generating parking structure. Well, we're not sweating alone here in Ontario. Our friends in Quebec are dealing with this same heat wave. They've got a heat warning for the southern portion of their province and much of mainland Nova Scotia.
Hello, summer!
It's so hot in Quebec, even the lifeguards are jumping in. 3 outdoor pools in the Montreal suburb of Dorval will now stay open late until 10 o'clock every night so that people can cool off. It's even hot at night, as we well know. Humidex values could reach anywhere between 40 and 45 today. In Nova Scotia, temperatures are forecast to hit at least 30 this afternoon, but will feel more like 40 because of that humidity. Conditions will be cooler near the coast, of course. Statistics Canada says the annual pace of inflation held steady at 1.7% in May. StatsCan points to slower increases in shelter costs like rent and mortgages as a big factor in keeping inflation lower. They added Ontario saw some rent relief from slower population growth and a jump in new supply compared with last spring. Core inflation figures also showed signs of modest easing, something the Bank of Canada will be paying close attention to as it prepares for its next interest rate decision on July 30th. Now to a historic win for the NBA's Oklahoma City Thunder. That's turned to a historic celebration. After the Thunder claimed a first-ever NBA championship this week, fans packed the streets to celebrate the city's first Major League sports title. The Thunder topped the Indiana Pacers in a hard-fought 7-game series, capping it off with a 103-91 win in Game 7. Leading the charge was Canadian superstar Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, of course, from Hamilton. You saw him there earlier. He wrapped himself in the maple leaf as part of the celebrations. He was named both the regular season and finals MVP, joining an elite club that includes LeBron James, Shaquille O'Neal, and Michael Jordan. Congratulations to him and the team. Well, traffic was brought to a standstill in Burnaby, BC over the weekend when two black bears got into a disagreement on a residential street. The bears seemed to ignore vehicles on the street as they wrestled each other for about an hour. That's a long one. Fights like this are not uncommon, but they don't typically happen in front of humans. Everyone waited patiently at a distance until the brawl was over. Eventually, the bears wandered back into the woods. Don't know how this one was scored, though. Let's take a look at the markets where strength in technology stocks helped Canada's main stock index climb. As you can see there, 109 points today for the TSX. The Dow also surging 507, while the Nasdaq climbs 282 points. The Canadian dollar again heading in the other direction, down to 72.93 cents U.S., a drop of $61 an ounce for gold, and oil again down today, more than $4 a barrel.
He was wearing a size 3 diaper, which isn't very common for a newborn baby.
Bigger than expected. How a Barrie area baby's birth made hospital history and left staff scrambling.
Let's take a look at our CTV News weather snapshot. Thanks to Silvio Carlini for this dramatic looking image. It's fantastic. Will we see, though, an improvement of the weather circumstances that have dominated the heat, the high humidity, and thunderstorms? Find out next.
From moment to moment, things change.
Mayday, mayday! We need more crews at this location.
CTVNewsWindsor.ca is Windsor's #1 source for online news. Watch every story from wherever you are the moment it happens. Plus exclusive content and must-see viewer video. Don't miss a moment. Windsor's leading online news source, CTVNewsWindsor.ca.
Okay, Gary is back with his extended look at the forecast. Gary, we had a smattering of rain today, but it didn't do too much to cool anything off.
No, that's true. And we saw some of that cumulus cloud starting to tower. When we see vertical development, we know we're in an unstable atmosphere that could pose a threat with thunderstorms churning. And we are within the vicinity. We've got lots of color on this map. Red indicative of the severe thunderstorm warning. They are in our vicinity. Yellow, of course, a watch, meaning the possibilities. And of course, the heat warning extends throughout southern Ontario through to at least midnight, could be extended. We've reached a high unofficially of 35 degrees. It felt like 114 on the Fahrenheit scale, like 46 degrees Celsius. It's been very warm. Now, once the storms have been passing through, with these waves of cooler air being the triggers for the warm air to rise and rise quickly, we're seeing the temperatures falling off in Windsor down to 26. 31, though, in Chatham, Kent, still in the warm slot with the rains in your vicinity. It's now cooled to the point where it feels like 34 in Windsor, but still warm in that warm edge. And unstable air in Chatham, Kent feels closer to 40. The winds and the outflow boundaries from these storms could gust in that 20 to 40 K range and be very localized at that. We are cooler across the prairies in southern parts of Alberta and Saskatchewan, a bit warmer in Manitoba. Definitely warmer in southern Ontario than it is in the northern parts. Toronto's been warmer than Windsor, 35, and showers and thunderstorms headed your way. So pockets, clusters right across southern Michigan, moving from west to east, and we are seeing the results of that movement into our airspace now and through the next 3 to 4 hours. In fact, there could be a separate cluster of showers and thunderstorms through the overnight. So we're not out of the rains, that's for sure. And the saying, as it goes, when it roars, go indoors. And of course, lightning can strike and travel several kilometers. So if you can hear it, you're at risk. We all are. Take a look at ourselves. Heating and cooling 7-day forecast. A week from today is Canada Day. It's marked in red. We'll cool off a bit and be seasonal the next couple of days in the mid to upper 20s, 27 to 28. Showers and or thunderstorms. A possibility Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Temperatures between now and Tuesday of next week will average about 29 to 30. That's the actual temperature. Humidex in the mid-30s.
Lifetime, brought to you by Safeguard Medical Alert Systems.
Well, as Gary outlined, that heat not going anywhere just yet, and this extreme heat we're living with at the moment can hit harder for our community's most vulnerable, especially for children. CTV's Pauline Chan has more on the best ways to keep kids cool as temperatures soar.
A splash and some cool, refreshing water is just what the doctor ordered for this heat wave. But for the very young, the elderly, those with respiratory issues, or with no air conditioning, some extra caution must be taken to avoid heat-related illness. Babies and toddlers are especially vulnerable.
First of all, their sweat glands are a little bit more immature. Their internal regulations are not as efficient. And they also have a higher surface area to body ratio. So they don't sweat as much.
Plus, they can't talk yet.
They can't tell us that they're overheated or dehydrated.
Dr. Natasha Kolia says heat cramps, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke are all part of a spectrum.
We start with heat like skin rashes. We start with heat syncope or fainting, and then heat cramps.
The next level of symptoms is heat exhaustion, when you start sweating excessively.
Other things you might see with heat exhaustion is just feeling fatigue, flushed skin. You might feel a little dry around the lips, dry cracked lips. You'll feel tired. You'll maybe sometimes even feel dizzy, lightheaded, faint, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain.
And heat stroke is a life-threatening condition when the body is no longer able to sweat to cool off.
Now there might be organ damage, talking about heart, lung, kidneys, and even brain. We may see seizures with heat stroke. That is where, if you do not recognize those symptoms and you do not seek medical attention early, those can be fatal.
Dr. Kolia says during a heat wave such as this, sick kids might see several cases of heat-related illness in a week. Her advice for parents: keep a close eye on the weather forecast so you're prepared for the heat, avoid going out at the hottest times of the day, and keep the kids hydrated, and not just water.
Hydration with electrolytes is super important.
She also points out that children overheat 3 to 5 times faster than adults, so never leave them or even your pets unattended in a car for even a few minutes. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Yeah, something to keep in mind as we move through this heat wave. Well, an Aurelia area family is celebrating their son's first birthday and sharing the story of his remarkable arrival. As CTV's Luke Samart reports, baby Grayson has a case to be one of the biggest ever born in Ontario.
Daddy messed it up. Meet Grayson, a soon-to-be one-year-old baby. When Grayson was born, he weighed a staggering 15 pounds and 10 ounces, a weight not seen before at Aurelia Soldiers Memorial Hospital, making a case for the largest baby ever born in Ontario.
He was 24.5 inches long, and his head was 42.5 centimeters, I believe. Correct. I did have a planned C-section for that day, so we left here bright and early, I believe 4 o'clock in the morning, I think it was.
With a baby born of that size, there came challenges, especially after birth.
He was wearing a size 3 diaper, which isn't very common for a newborn baby, but the hospital was very good with, getting their hands on the resources that we needed.
When Aurelia Soldiers Memorial Hospital went to register Grayson's weight, they ran into a unique situation.
When Grayson was born, the team went to enter his weight into the Ontario Registry, and we were surprised to find out that his weight exceeded the upper limit. We had to actually call the Ontario Registry, and they had to manually update it on their end, which was a first for us.
Grayson would wear clothing for a 6-month-old baby right after birth, but his growth has now slowed down, looking and acting as an 11-month-old baby should. The family sharing their story in hopes of encouraging families to trust the process of your pregnancy if having a larger baby.
There were challenges and obstacles with Grayson at the beginning, and lots of unknowns, even from, healthcare professionals and everything, but we got through it all, and I mean, he's thriving. He's doing amazing.
According to Born Ontario, Grayson's birth weight of 15 pounds and 10 ounces would put him in the top 0.01 percentile of weight when it comes to babies being born. Grayson, a happy and healthy baby, will be turning 1 on July 4th. Luke Simard, CTV News, Aurelia.
After I submit the information, the screen went blank.
A quick Google search cost a London woman tens of thousands of dollars. The scam and what to watch out for, that's coming up on Windsor's News Leader.
It's the summer of music. Enter Rec Laws at ctvwindsor.ca for your chance to win a pair of VIP tickets to see Lee Brice, the Rec Laws, and more at Rock the Park, Saturday, July 12th, plus an overnight stay in London.
If you're planning to escape this heat, maybe lakeside, keep an eye out for a new kind of beachgoer. Canada's first ever beach cleaning robot has rolled onto the sand. There it is. Meet Bebot, a fully electric, remote-controlled machine designed to scour beaches for plastic and other litter. It made its debut on the shores of Lake Simcoe this week, but it's part of a much bigger plan to clean up the Great Lakes, including Lake Erie. The high-tech beachcomber can collect debris and rake seaweed up to 30 times faster than a human crew. It's just one of dozens of devices being used in a summer-long cleanup effort. Well, a London woman says she was recently scammed out of thousands of dollars because she clicked on a fake website. But as CTV's Pat Foran reports, as far as she could tell, the site was legitimate.
How was I supposed to know it was a scammer? I really didn't know that.
Ruth Jean of London operates her own company and needed to set up a business account with the Canada Revenue Agency. In March, she did a Google search to find the CRA's website.
And I clicked on it. It opened out. The CRA name was on there.
Jean says she was asked to put in her social insurance number and other personal information. Then she was asked for her banking details.
I asked for the card number, the ATM password, and the expiration date for the card and all that information. So I put it in. After I submit the information, the screen went blank.
Jean was on a fake spoof CRA website that looked like the real thing. Once criminals had her banking information, they emptied her bank account of more than $26,000.
You thought you were on the real PC Financial website?
Of course I did.
Earlier this year, we did a story with a senior trying to buy GICs who also got caught in a fake website scam that cost him $750,000.
I've got zero, nothing.
We reached out to Google, and a spokesperson said, when we find ads that breach our policies, we take immediate action, including removing the ads and suspending advertiser accounts when necessary.
Individuals can actually pay to have their listing right at the top, and some of those listings are not verified, and they're what we call spoofed websites.
Cybersecurity experts say you need to make sure you're on the proper website before entering financial information. Third-party link checkers can also help detect fraud.
The easiest way is to read the URL, which is the address, the domain address, up in the browser. Make sure that it's accurate, that it's spelled accurately. Look for the padlock in the browser. That padlock means that there is a security certificate and that your information is encrypted.
Jean says she is devastated to lose her hard-earned money.
I feel sad. I feel like angry. I was just trying to sign up for a business account on CRA.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Dolly Parton is getting a Las Vegas mini residency. The country music icon hasn't been out on the road since her Pure and Simple tour wrapped in 2016. But she announced Monday she will be doing a 6-concert run over at Caesars Palace in December. Dolly Live in Las Vegas will run at the resort from the 4th through the 13th that month during National Finals Rodeo, and country stars have been known to take a special liking to Vegas bookings.
This is your CTV Windsor Our Community Calendar. Come walk or run at this year's Run for Rocky event on Saturday, August 9th during Windsor Essex Pride Fest weekend in support of local gay, straight alliances. See you next time on Our Community.
It's time to check in on what's happening now with our Melanie Kentner joining us. Melanie, we're talking about the heat and humidity, and you've got more for us on how people are handling this heat wave.
That's right. The heat is even taking a toll on residents who have done their best to stay cool during this stretch. City splash pads have been very busy. Outdoor pools are being prepped and will open Saturday, June 28th. City officials say the cooling stations have not seen an unusual increase in use, but they are issuing a plea to the public to be mindful of those around us that may be struggling during this current stretch of hot weather.
Especially for vulnerable populations, maybe they might not know where to go. They may be struggling. So again, just remind them that that service is available at 400 Wyandotte Street East. And hopefully folks will make their way there, and then the staff can take it and they can assess them as best as they can at that time.
We've got more on the heat wave at ctvnewswindsor.ca.
Okay, we've also got a story online, Melanie, with an announcement from Invest Windsor Essex.
Yes, they've named Gordon Orr as the Chief Executive Officer. He currently serves as the CEO of Tourism Windsor Essex Pelee Island and will now have that role for both organizations. He'll start his new duties on July 2nd. You can read more about his jobs on our website. And in our social spotlight tonight, a happy ending for some ducklings raised at a Forest Glade establishment. Staff at Parks and Rec Gastropub and Sports Bar say they recently found a mama mallard and her fluffy babies in the flower box. Their team gently placed them in a cozy box and made sure they were safe before taking them to a natural spot nearby. And now they're wishing them a happy, wild adventure, Ricardo.
Yeah, they're looking for a little place to stay cool, I think, because it looks like that's what they were doing there as well, Melanie. It's hot, even for the ducklings.
That's right. I'm glad to see they made it somewhere safe.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for that, Melanie. That's a look at what's happening now.
It's really fun. We like the big explosion at the end.
After the break, we'll relive the fun in full after an explosive evening down by the river. Yeah, look at those clouds. Really picturesque, Gary. I mean, still hot and humid, but I think some of that cloud cover, that smattering of rain we talked about a little earlier, helped somewhat.
Yes, a little bit of relief. And in fact, as those storms did pass through, temperatures did drop a bit. Humidity levels, as you mentioned, you're right, they are still high, as you would expect. And more rain is in the forecast, potentially thunderstorm activity in the next 24 hours, I think through the overnight. Tomorrow's not as high, but still humid, so 27 feels like 35. 28 on Thursday, and then Thursday into Friday, we'll see temperatures climb a bit to about 30 degrees. The weekend, close to 30 degrees both days, if not slightly above. And a week from now, Canada Day, looking at about 26 degrees, so cooling off for the big holiday.
Yeah, summer not missing a beat with this heat, Gary. Thank you for that. Well, finally for us tonight, folks, if the heat had you hiding indoors or you otherwise missed the sights and sounds of the Ford fireworks show last night over the Detroit River, you've come to the right place for a recap of the sights, sounds, and excitement.
I've been here for like probably the past 10 years of my life, and I honestly love coming here every year.
It's kind of an exciting experience for me because I've never seen like a fire show before.
We really like it. We really like the big explosions and how they shape out at the end.
A lot of like lights like popping out and like shapes and stuff.
It's hot though, really hot, but like it's different from what before. There wasn't that much people here.
It's really fun. We like the big explosion at the end.
Yeah, what an awesome display over the Detroit River last night. Fantastic to see so many people heading down to the waterfront, taking advantage of the wonderful view that we have down there and enjoying that show.
The spectacular pyrotechnics, they keep becoming more advanced. Every year something new. I think it's one of the best fireworks shows I've ever seen.
Yeah, we're really fortunate to have that right here in our own backyard. And it's great to see everybody out with their blankets, you know, having a little picnic. We're going to see more of that even when it's not fireworks night.
That's right.
Well, that is our time tonight, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in.
For updates throughout the evening, go to CTV News Windsor.ca.
I'm Ricardo, Veneza, and for everyone here at CTV on both sides of the camera, have a great night. We'll see you at 11.
Good night.